I called an Uber, only to find the driver was Tim, the golden boy of our campus. I felt a wave of sympathy for him, thinking he must have fallen on hard times to be driving for a living. Tim was quiet for a moment. Have you ever seen anyone driving a Porsche Cayenne for Uber? I froze, whipping my head around. That's when I saw the real Uber driver behind us, his hand just about breaking the horn. It started pouring right as I finished my tutoring session and was getting ready to head back to campus. I quickly ordered an Uber. Miss, I'm right across the street. I'm the white Honda with the hazard lights on, see me? What's a Honda? I had no clue. But I knew what a white car was, so I looked up, searching. Through the dense curtain of rain, a white car was parked on the other side of the road, flashers blinking. The body was sleek and shiny. That must be it, I figured. Unsure, I still dashed through the rain, jumped in, and slid into the passenger seat. The car smelled nice, like expensive cologne, and even the seats were soft and comfortable. The car behind us, though, was laying on the horn like a maniac for some reason. Wiping the rain from my face, I rushed to thank him. Thanks, sir. Just drop me at the side gate of a university. They don't let Ubers on campus. Sorry for the trouble. The driver was still silent. I realized something was off and tilted my head in confusion. My eyes met a pair of amused, half-smiling eyes. The owner of those eyes was young and handsome, with sharp, distinguished features. I was stunned. Holy crap, why is the Uber driver the golden boy from our school, Tim? In a flash, my brain concocted a whole tragic backstory for him. His powerful, wealthy family suddenly went bankrupt, and he was forced to drive for Uber to make ends meet. This once proud and brilliant guy had to swallow his pride to survive, becoming a pitiful but resilient hero. I was overwhelmed with sympathy, and without thinking, the words just tumbled out. Are you driving for Uber because your family needs the money right now? Tim was silent for a moment. Have you ever seen anyone driving a Porsche Cayenne for Uber? I was floored. What? A Porsche Cayenne? I don't know much about cars, but I know that one is crazy expensive. But didn't I order a white Honda or something? How did it turn into a Porsche Cayenne? As I was trying to wrap my head around it, the honking from behind got even more frantic. Then, a white car pulled up sharply beside us. The driver, looking stressed, rolled down his window and yelled, exasperated, "Miss. I've been honking my horn off. You just walked right past me and got into that Cayenne. I told you, a white Honda with the flashers on." I stared, dumbfounded, feeling like I'd been struck by lightning. Damn it. I got in the wrong car. I immediately put on an awkward, apologetic smile. I'm so sorry, sir. All my spare cash usually goes straight to food, so I honestly can't tell a Cayenne from a Honda. I'll be right over, don't worry. Then I quickly turned to Tim and apologized sheepishly. So sorry about this, I got into the wrong car. I'll get going now, sorry. Face burning with embarrassment, I reached for the door handle, but it was locked. Huh. Just then, Tim's deep, pleasant voice sounded from behind me. Go ahead and cancel the ride. I'll be your Uber driver. Seriously. I'd never seen someone do something so mundane with the cool, effortless confidence of a high roller placing a bet in a luxury casino. After I paid the cancellation fee, the real Uber driver drove off with a sour look on his face. I sat awkwardly in the passenger seat of the Cayenne, fiddling with my hands. The luxury car was silent except for the pitter-patter of the rain outside and the sound of 1,000 horses stampeding through my brain. What have I done to deserve this? At this moment, I desperately wished I could go back 10 minutes in time and pay any price to be the version of myself that never opened this car door. But at least this guy. Oh, right, I mean Tim, was as kind as he was handsome, and he didn't seem to mind giving me a ride back to school. I couldn't help but steal a glance at the guy driving. His profile was sharp, with a hint of lazy charm, and even the hands on the steering wheel had perfectly defined knuckles. Damn, no wonder all the girls at school are so obsessed with him. He definitely has what it takes. I heard he turns down everyone who pursues him, saying he already has a one that got away. What a top-tier, devoted man. Nina, what are you thinking about? About you. Lost in my thoughts, I answered automatically. The car fell silent again. I snapped back to reality with a jolt and quickly tried to explain. I mean, I was just thinking how amazing you are, driving a Cayenne at such a young age. You'll probably be flying a private jet in the future. Tim glanced at me, a slight curve on his lips. I'll take that as a compliment. I let out an awkward laugh, mentally kicking myself. Thankfully, Tim didn't seem to pay much attention to my nonsense and drove me safely to the front of my dorm. By then, the rain had stopped. As I unbuckled my seatbelt, I offered a grateful, if slightly insincere, thank you. Thanks so much, Tim. I owe you one. If you ever need anything, just let me know. Of course, I was just being polite. After all, our only connection was being members of the same club, barely acquaintances. With how busy a guy like him must be, he'd probably forget about me the second I was gone. To my surprise, Tim replied casually. All right. I have a basketball game tomorrow. You can come bring me a water. Huh? I stared at him, bewildered. Seriously, you're actually taking me up on that? The next day after class, I turned down an offer from the class president to see a movie and slowly made my way to the basketball court. Guys, I'm not kidding. The crowd outside the court was an absolute mob scene. I could barely squeeze through. I doubt even Chris Evans would draw this kind of crowd. Finally, clutching a bottle of water, I managed to find a corner to lay low in. Taking a deep breath, I looked out at the fiercely competitive game. Sweat was flying as the young, vibrant college guys ran intensely across the court. So many men, so many men. Of course, the most eye-catching one was Tim. His hair was damp, and the muscles on his exposed arms were smooth and defined. Just then, Tim casually lifted the hem of his jersey to wipe off some sweat, revealing a set of chiseled abs. The sight sent the girl next to me into a fit of shrieking. It almost made my ears ring. Rubbing my aching ears, I thought to myself. If I walk out there to give him the water, will I be carried out in a body bag? It's possible. Very possible. Risking my life for a simple IOU just wasn't worth it. Just as I was trembling at the thought, Tim, in the middle of the court, seemed to sense something. He suddenly looked over in my direction, his gaze dark and intense. I froze, instinctively looking to my left and right. Yep. Nothing but beautiful girls. Since Tim had already seen me, it would be a bit rude to just bail. So, I waited awkwardly in the crowd. But soon enough, Tim subbed out of the game. He grabbed his jacket and bag and just left. The court instantly quieted down. I was baffled. Dude, I haven't even given you the water yet, and you're already gone. Just as I was debating whether to follow him, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw a message from an unknown number. Come to the path behind the court. Who is this? Buzz. Aren't you supposed to bring me water? Oh, it's Tim. I clutched the water bottle and walked over, finding him standing there, playing on his phone. I cleared my throat, planning to just hand him the water and leave. But he put his phone away and glanced at me. Let's go. Go where? I was a little lost, but Tim had already started walking. So, I had no choice but to follow, completely confused. I was still trying to figure out what was going on by the time we were seated in a hot pot restaurant off campus. Watching him order food from his phone, I quietly called his name. Tim. Yeah? He seemed to be in a great mood. Are we here to eat? What else? Huh? My brain just short-circuited. Does the water delivery service also include a free meal? Tim chuckled and explained, a high school friend of mine is nearby, so I'm treating him to dinner. Then I should probably go. You're not hungry? Okay, he got me. I touched my stomach and decided not to be difficult. I was all for being an honest freeloader. It's just that I suddenly felt like I owed him yet another favor. As I was lost in thought, a tall, well-built guy walked in. "Tim, you dog, you. Holy crap. When did you finally win over your dream girl?" The guy pointed at me, his jaw on the floor. In that instant, I felt like my brain was about to be launched into outer space. The spicy broth in the hot pot bubbled away. I nibbled on a soft piece of potato, stealing glances at Tim, one after another. I wanted to ask him what was going on, but with his friend there, I really didn't know how to start. Just then, Tim seemed to kick his friend under the table. "Jack, you need to go to the bathroom?" "Huh? No, I'm good." Tim didn't say anything, just stared at him expressionlessly. His eyes screamed one word. Scram. His friend, Jack, looked confused, but then he suddenly glanced at me and grinned. All right, I'll go suffer a trip to the restroom. You and your dream girl enjoy your meal." After his friend left, I slowly looked up. My eyes met Tim's. He had been watching me the whole time. I squeezed my chopsticks awkwardly. "Tim, aren't you going to explain?" "Explain what?" "The whole dream girl thing. I think your friend has me mistaken for someone else." A faint, unreadable smile played on Tim's lips as his gaze drifted over the steam from the hot pot and landed on my face. He wasn't mistaken. Fine. That one sentence shut me right up. I opened my mouth, then let out an uncontrollable hiccup. As he let out a soft, suppressed laugh, I buried my head in my food, thoroughly embarrassed. My ears were bright red. Floating back to my dorm in a daze, I still felt a little out of it. My roommate, who was drooling over some steamy animated gay romance, took a moment to show some concern. "Nina, I was just about to call you. It's not too safe around campus lately, there's some creep wandering around. You be careful." "It's fine, I just went out for dinner." I slowly shuffled over to watch the show with her. But when a handsome main character appeared on screen, I couldn't help but ask. "Do you think it's possible for a super hot, crazy rich, absolute dreamboat to like me? For instance? Like, someone like Tim?" My roommate burst out laughing. "Nina, that kind of thing only happens in dreams." I let out a soft sigh. My mind drifted back to when Tim dropped me off at the dorm. He had looked at me with a burning intensity, his eyes sparkling, his voice soft and warm. "Nina, I've liked you for a long time." A dream. It must be a dream. I tossed and turned all night, trying to figure out what connection I could possibly have with Tim. Other than occasionally seeing each other at club meetings or passing by in the cafeteria, that was it. There was nothing else. I saw my balding department head more often than I saw him. So I was even more confused, and I couldn't even focus on my beloved gay romance shows. I closed my eyes, and all I could see were nonsense verses. "Roses are red, violets are blue, Tom and Jerry are after you." Sigh, I'm so cultured. Just as I was finally drifting off, my phone started buzzing non-stop. I opened it to see my high school group chat had come back from the dead. The class president was organizing a reunion for this coming weekend, and anyone who wanted to go could sign up. I wasn't planning on going at first. But the reunion was in this city, and my old homeroom teacher, who I hadn't seen in ages, was going to be there. So I chimed in and signed up. Immediately, several guys from my class started messaging me, asking how I'd been. But honestly, I couldn't remember who they were. Right before my college entrance exams, I got really sick. I had a high fever that wouldn't break, and it almost fried my brain. When I woke up, I had inexplicably forgotten a lot of people. Thankfully, my homeroom teacher was there to encourage and take care of me. I took my exams right after getting out of the hospital and nearly ended up back in the ICU. After a few polite replies, I was about to turn off my phone and go to sleep when I saw another message from the class president. "The students from the other class our teacher taught are coming too. We're all her students, so let's not be strangers." Back then, our homeroom teacher taught 2 classes, my liberal arts class and, I think, a science class? I couldn't really remember, so I didn't dwell on it. Anyway, the main point was to go and eat. Staying up late was rare for me, and it left me drained during class the next day. After all, when you get up at 8 a.m. every day, it's only natural to have a bad attitude. Seeing my lack of energy, my roommate immediately dragged me to the track to watch the guys from the athletics department train. The beautiful bodies woke me up instantly. No exaggeration, I felt like a queen choosing from her harem. As my roommate and I were heatedly debating who to summon to our chambers first, I got a text from an unknown number. "Where are you?" "The track." "What are you doing at the track?" I replied honestly. Debating with my roommate which guy on the team has the most touchable abs. The person sent back a string of ellipses. TSK, so rude. Just as I was about to go back to admiring the athletic guys, I sensed something was off. I looked at the number again, suspicious, and then I saw the old message from yesterday telling me to go to the path behind the court. Gasp. I sucked in a sharp breath, my eyelid twitching. Just as I was frantically trying to come up with an explanation, a familiar, pleasant male voice sounded from behind me. "I'm curious too. Which one has the better abs?" Tim's sudden appearance left my roommate speechless. Under her stunned gaze, I slowly shuffled over to him. "What are you doing here?" "Just came to admire the view." Tim's lips curved into a slight smile, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. He was annoyed. He was definitely annoyed. He had just confessed to me yesterday, and today I was checking out other guys right in front of him. No matter how you looked at it, I came off as a bit ungrateful. I let out a dry laugh and awkwardly changed the subject. "Well, since we ran into each other, it must be fate. Let me treat you to a meal. There's nothing a good meal can't solve." Besides, I still owed him one. To my surprise, Tim refused. "I've got something to do. Next time." Oh. Naturally, I wasn't going to press him about when next time would be. Just as I was trying to think of an excuse to escape, Tim suddenly called my name. "Nina, are you free this weekend?" I answered honestly, "No, I have to go to my high school reunion." "Okay, got it." Tim nodded thoughtfully and quickly left. It really seemed like he'd taken time out of his busy schedule just to catch me cheating on him. The thought struck me like lightning, leaving me stunned. Just then, a short honk sounded from nearby. I turned around. My roommate had completely lost it, twitching like an electrocuted frog. "So, Tim says he likes you and is pursuing you now?" I nodded seriously. Barring any accidents, that seems to be the case. My roommate stared at me with a devious grin, the gears in her head probably spinning at 180 miles per hour. "You lucky dog. A dreamboat's body is definitely on another level compared to anyone else." I calmly looked down at the new contact I had just added on WhatsApp. But my face felt like it was on fire. Buzz. "I'm free after the reunion this weekend." "Huh? Weren't you going to treat me to dinner?" "Right. He never misses a beat." So I took the initiative and suggested I'd find him after my reunion for another meal. But Tim replied, "No need, I'll come get you." I read the chat history over and over. Had I told him where the reunion was? I hadn't. With a heart full of confusion, the weekend arrived. I showed up at the reunion hotel right on time, not one to waste a minute. A lot of my classmates greeted me warmly, and several guys I had turned down back in the day kept coming over to say hi. There was also a table of unfamiliar faces next to us. They must have been the students from the other class. We were all adults now, and after a few words, the atmosphere became quite friendly. When Mrs. Wilton arrived, she held my hand, her expression full of kindness. She asked about my health and complimented me on how much prettier I'd become. I smiled politely. A little while later, the class president started giving a speech filled with platitudes. Basically, he used exaggerated words to summarize our miserable high school lives and look forward to our future lives of drudgery. Everything seemed perfectly normal. Suddenly, I heard a guy at the next table ask. "Hey, isn't Tim coming today too?" I paused mid-sip of my drink, thinking I must have misheard. Who? Tim. Just as I was trying to secretly prick up my ears to listen more closely, the door to the private room was pushed open. A sharp, cool-looking guy stood there holding a jacket, his expression distant and lazy. "Sorry, I'm late." I sat there, completely thunderstruck, my brain on the verge of frying. What the hell? Tim and I were high school classmates. He knew me back then. I'd been wondering what he meant when he said he'd liked me for a long time. So this is what he meant. And no wonder he said he could come pick me up without me even telling him the location. He was playing me this whole time. While I was in a daze, Tim had already walked in, and many classmates were eagerly greeting him. Jack, who was trailing behind him, even gave me a cheerful wave. Many of the girls, blushing, asked Tim to sit next to them, their admiration plain to see. He politely declined, his steps never faltering. And then he pulled out the empty chair next to me and sat down with a flourish. Guys, I'm not kidding. The feeling was like having raised 6 sons, only to be told you now have to raise their 12 grandsons. It was a feeling of utter helplessness. In that moment, I wanted to light up a vintage cigar just to calm down. "Tim, the liberal arts students are over there. Our class is over here," someone called out with a laugh. Tim didn't move. Instead, he said flatly, "No need, I'm with someone." With that, he turned his head to look at me, his gaze clear and gentle. And just like that, all the various gazes from my old classmates in the room fell on me. I kept my head down and chugged my drink, but I was already sent flying by his complete disregard for my social survival. My intention to pretend I didn't know him was painfully obvious. Beside us, Mrs. Wilton glanced between the two of us and suddenly spoke with a smile. "Since everyone's here, let's start eating." Everyone's attention shifted, and I slowly raised my head, ready to feast. Just then, the culprit beside me spoke in a warm voice. "Nina, after the reunion, wait for me in the car for a bit." His voice wasn't loud, but it still drew the surprised gazes of many people back to me. I was numb. Fine. The whole situation has now officially spiraled into chaos. I ate that meal feeling like I was sitting on pins and needles. Meanwhile, Tim was calmly peeling shrimp. That level of composure, I have to say, was impressive. So, I followed his lead and calmed down too. But a sudden comment from one of the girls broke the slightly strange and gossipy atmosphere in the room. "Nina, you're at a university now too." I stopped chewing and looked up at her. It was our former class beauty. When Tim came in, she had been the shyest one, and she was also the one who had been shooting me the deadliest glares. "Yes. Tim's at a university too. You really have a home field advantage, don't you? You must have gotten to talk to the campus dreamboat a lot." Her words were dripping with insinuation, implying I was using our shared school to suck up to him. I calmly put down my chopsticks, looking slightly puzzled. "So why didn't you come to a university? Was it because you didn't like it?" Someone at the table couldn't help but laugh. The class beauty was pretty in high school and outgoing, but she was also known for dating around and not studying. In the end, she only managed to get into a community college. The smile on the class beauty's face faltered. "Heh, Nina, you're so interesting now. Just saying what needs to be said." I lowered my eyes, not bothering to engage with her, and prepared to continue eating. Suddenly, a small plate of peeled shrimp was placed in front of me. I looked up and met the eyes of the very culprit himself. "Care to have a bite?" Under the various stares of everyone around us, I calmly ate the shrimp he had peeled for me. See, I couldn't help it. He was the one fawning over me. I, for one, am very reserved and noble. The class beauty pursed her lips and glared at me even more intensely. After that, the reunion ended in a strangely warm and awkward atmosphere. When I said goodbye to our teacher alone, she held my hand and asked nosily, "Are you and Tim dating?" "No, I didn't even know he was also one of your students." I denied it flat out, but my eyes secretly glanced towards his tall, slender figure. We really weren't dating. It just seemed like he was pursuing me. The teacher sighed and patted my hand meaningfully. Nina, you look obedient, but you're actually very independent and closed off. In high school, you always kept to yourself with your books, and then you got sick. I bet you've forgotten almost all your other classmates by now. It makes me happy to see that you're in touch with Tim. I didn't understand. The teacher continued. It seems you still don't know. When you were sick in the hospital, Tim came to see me once. I paused. He came to see you? Yes. When you were sick, he asked me which hospital you were in. Oh, that little face of his, he was so worried. So I told him, on the condition that he wouldn't disturb your rest. You two were my proudest students back then. I allowed for crushes, but no early dating. Later, he would often go to the hospital to secretly check on you. When he found out you were bad at math, he compiled a whole bunch of notes for you and asked me to give them to you. That's when I realized that even someone as proud as him could have a secret crush. Notes? While I was still in the hospital, my teacher gave me a math notebook and told me to study it well. The notes inside were detailed and well organized. You could tell the person who made them had put a lot of effort into it. I always thought it was my math teacher who had prepared them for me. I was so touched for a long time that I even thought about getting a commemorative banner made for the office. I never imagined it was Tim. I blinked. So, in a place I never knew, he had been secretly looking out for me for so long. After seeing my teacher off, I stood there watching Tim chat with his classmates. The golden boy, the campus dreamboat, with enough admirers to circle the university town twice over. He must have been just as popular in high school. It's just that I don't remember. Perhaps my gaze was too full of emotion, because Tim suddenly turned his head to look at me. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, he walked straight towards me, his features clear and bright. Can we go now? I nervously fiddled with my hands. No rush, you can talk with your classmates first. There's nothing to talk about. I'd rather be with you. That was pretty direct. So direct that my face started to feel hot. Unable to resist, I asked him a question in a low voice. Tim, why didn't you try to get to know me in high school? After all, given my weakness for good looks, would have definitely remembered him. But Tim just gave a faint smile. Nina, I actually did confess to you once, but you turned me down. I was that bold back then? Lost in my dazed confusion, Tim didn't say much more and drove me back to school. He was remarkably distant and reserved, a perfect gentleman. As if he wasn't the one who had been laying on the charm all day. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, I was back in my high school classroom, and my desk was piled high with love letters. My desk mate was teasing me. Nina, you got so many love letters again today. Be careful the class beauty doesn't see, she'll be so jealous. Last time you got one, she secretly bad-mouthed you for days. This time there are several. She'll probably curse your entire family tree. I let out a soft sigh. Sometimes being too charming is a problem. I should probably just return all these letters one by one for some peace and quiet. Anyway, I'm devoted to my studies and refuse to date early. But my deskmate advised me, if you return them like that, you'll probably just get more next time. Just heartlessly throw them in the trash. Don't read them, don't reply, and they'll get the message. Will that really work? Of course. Trust me, it works every time. My deskmate was good-looking and had a lot of dating experience, so I took her advice. I gathered the stack of unopened love letters and walked towards the trash can by the back door of the classroom. After whispering a few apologies under my breath, I threw them in. As I turned away, I happened to look up and saw a tall, lean figure walking away down the hall. Bathed in the warm yellow light of the afternoon sun. A vibrant, dazzling boy. When my alarm went off, I was not feeling great from the lack of sleep. Whatever. I only allow myself to sleep for 5 hours and 21 minutes a day. I can die from exhaustion, but romance will never die. After silently having a moment, I slowly got ready and left, heading to my regular tutoring session with a primary school student. I don't know what was up today, but the bus wasn't coming, and there were no taxis in sight. Thinking it wasn't too far, I started walking to the student's house. But when I happened to glance back, I noticed a man acting suspiciously behind me. I think he'd been staring at me ever since I was waiting at the bus stop. When I left the stop, he started following me. My eyesight isn't great, but I could vaguely make out that his pants seemed to be wide open. Great, I've run into a pervert. I frowned and quickened my pace. I wasn't too worried he'd do anything to me on a busy street, but I still felt a little panicked. But when the man saw me walking faster, he got more excited. He started chasing after me, yelling, "Hey beautiful! Hey beautiful, why are you running? Let's get to know each other." I ignored him and kept walking fast, but he blocked my path with a grin. A sleazy, scrawny man was staring at me, his eyes full of malice. My roommate had warned me that a creep was wandering around campus lately. This must be him. My face turned cold. Move. He, beautiful, let me show you something cool, don't go. The commotion attracted the attention of several passers-by, but no one came over to help. The creep got bolder and was about to grab my hand. Suddenly, he was yanked up and thrown to the ground. He landed face first, crying out in pain. I blinked, looking at the broad-shouldered guy standing in front of me. My heart skipped a beat, and then another. It was Tim. Tim naturally has a stern-looking face, and right now, with his cold and fierce expression, he was downright terrifying. He completely intimidated the creep. The guy tried to run, but he was surrounded by the crowd. After all, now that someone had stepped up, the other passers-by felt brave enough to intervene. The police arrived quickly and slapped handcuffs on the trembling pervert. After going with them to give a simple statement, I suddenly realized I had missed my tutoring class. I hurriedly explained the situation to the students' parents. Luckily, they were understanding and didn't make a fuss. I breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at Tim, who had stayed with me the whole time. My heart softened. It's a good thing you were passing by, otherwise I would have been done for. A corner of the guy's mouth lifted. I wasn't just passing by. That creep has been getting really bold lately, so every time you have a tutoring session, I follow you from a distance. I was taken aback. I never expected that someone with the face of a player could be such a hopeless romantic. Pursing my lips, I thanked him, embarrassed. Ahem, thank you, Tim. No problem. But if you're going to thank me, you can treat me to dinner. Fine. Didn't make any money today, and now I have to spend some. I nodded resentfully and agreed. Once again, I was in the familiar Porsche Cayenne, and the comfortable, high-end seats allowed my tense nerves to relax. I couldn't help but look at the guy driving and say what was on my mind. Tim, I didn't mean to throw away your love letter back then. He responded faintly, seeming to still hold a grudge about it, his attitude quite cold. I fiddled with my hands and explained again, awkwardly. The main thing is, I didn't know you had sent me a love letter. If I had known, I wouldn't have thrown it away. After all, I could have added it as a colorful highlight to my resume. Look. A love letter from the golden boy Tim. After hearing my explanation, the chill on Tim's face thawed a bit. Thanks for the mercy of not throwing it away. Next time, make sure you keep it. That was a bold thing to say. I gave a weak smile, then lowered my eyes and started playing dead. But a smile I couldn't control tugged at my lips. I thought my dinner with Tim today would be a peaceful affair. But after we sat down, I noticed someone at the next table looked familiar. Oh, it was the class beauty from my high school class. When she saw me, she rolled her eyes. But when she saw Tim behind me, she immediately became shy. The change was as fast as a Sichuan opera face-changing act. Naturally, I didn't acknowledge her and just sat down. Tim probably didn't even notice her. Because he was staring straight at me, his bright, handsome eyes sparkling. It seemed like ever since the love letter misunderstanding was cleared up, he was back to his flirty self. No, wait, he's been flirty ever since I got into the wrong car, as if some seal had been broken. I smiled and looked down at the menu to order. Just then, the commotion at the class beauty's table suddenly got louder. The man across from her was furious. We're on a blind date, I bought you a bag, and now you're backing out? The class beauty glanced nervously at me, then lowered her voice and snapped. Who asked you to buy it for me? You're the one who insisted on buying it, okay? And I didn't even want to come on this blind date. I have a boyfriend. Where's your boyfriend? Call him over. If you can't, then you're paying me back for this bag. He's right here, you just wait. As I was secretly enjoying the drama, I saw the class beauty suddenly stand up and walk towards our table. My heart skipped a beat. She stood in front of Tim, pleading in a whiny, baby voice. Tim, can you please pretend to be my boyfriend? That guy won't stop bothering me, I'm begging you. My expression hardened. But I didn't say anything. Tim lifted his eyes to look at the pitiful-looking class beauty and coolly uttered 2 words. Who are you? The simplest words, the most brutal blow. The class beauty's face twisted for a second before she quickly put her pitiful act back on. I'm your high school classmate, from the class next door. Please, just help me this once. I'll treat you to dinner afterward. Oh. Tim placed his water glass on the table with a soft thud. No. The person I love is right here. After the class beauty and her blind date left, bickering, the restaurant returned to its calm state. I kept my head down and ate, unsure what to say to break the overly ambiguous atmosphere at the table. Just then, Tim's phone rang. The person on the other end spoke quickly, seemingly in a hurry, urging him to go somewhere. He agreed and hung up, his expression flat. It was clear he was annoyed. I immediately took the hint and spoke up tactfully. If you have something to do, you should go. I'll be fine on my own. It was perfect timing, actually. I needed a moment to cool down before I was completely swept off my feet. He nodded. Then he stood up and leaned over. His shadow fell over me, and he gently kissed me from across the table. It was brief. Intimate, but not overstepping. Before I could even react, Tim had straightened up, his tone warm. I've already paid the bill, so take your time. I'll be back to pick you up in about an hour. Oh, I can get back to school on my own, really, I replied, still in a daze. I'd worry. Just wait for me, okay, Nina? The affectionate way he said my name shot straight to my heart, making my legs feel weak and my face flush. All I could do was nod like an idiot. After he left, I still felt a bit dazed. I had always thought Tim's feelings for me were probably just the lingering regret of a youthful, unrequited love, but I never expected them to be so enduring, so intense. Combined with that face that won the genetic lottery, it was truly unsettling. Tim came back quickly. I was just about finished eating anyway, so I wandered over to the restaurant entrance to wait for him. As luck would have it, I ran into the class beauty, who still hadn't left. Her hair and clothes were a bit of a mess, looking as disheveled as if she'd just been in a fight. When she saw me, she immediately straightened her hair and made a point of showing off the designer bag on her arm. It was a kind of foolish cunning, for lack of a better term. I wasn't planning on talking to her, but she came up to me on her own. Well, Nina. All alone? Where's Tim? I pretended not to see her and started to walk away. But the class beauty grabbed my arm, inexplicably losing her cool. Nina, I hate how you always act so cold and aloof. You obviously don't like Tim, so why do you keep leading him on? Can you just stop clinging to him? Let me have him. Her words confused me. Is this person okay? Did she leave her brain at home? First of all, he's not a piece of merchandise to be given away. And second, I pulled my arm free, my tone both questioning and serious. Who says I don't like him? Just as the words left my mouth, a familiar deep male voice came from behind me, filled with an irrepressible joy. Nina, really? I froze. Seriously, did he have to show up at the most awkward moment possible? As I was silently wailing, Tim had already walked to my side, affectionately taking my hand, his gaze burning. I heard that. Oh, so you heard it. I sighed resentfully but didn't pull my hand away. Tim chuckled softly, then his warm expression vanished. He turned his head to look at the class beauty, his eyes filled with a heavy warning. Did you think I would ever give you a second glance? Who do you think you are? The class beauty's face changed several times. Finally, she stormed off in a huff, shooting me a few more glares on her way out. I shrugged innocently. Tim caressed my cheek, then turned and led me towards his car, which was parked across the street. The traffic was a bit heavy. He switched to putting his arm around my waist, protecting me in his embrace. Suddenly, he asked me a question. Nina, did you know me in high school? I responded with certainty, I must have. Because no one could meet Tim and not be moved. It's just that I had forgotten. But from now on, would always remember. Tim's extra. I can't say for sure when I first became interested in Nina. Maybe it was because Mrs. Wilton was always mentioning in class that she had a female student who was brilliant at liberal arts. Or maybe it was because I was at the top of the science rankings, and she was at the top of the liberal arts rankings. Or perhaps it was because she seemed so quiet and gentle on the surface, speaking softly. Yet she would occasionally be in the library, secretly reading some incredibly smutty gay manga, and I happened to walk in on her twice. All in all, I had a vivid impression of her, but she couldn't even remember my name. One day in our senior year, I was about to head to the court to play some basketball. Just as I stepped out of the classroom, someone bumped right into me. It was Nina. She covered her nose, took 2 embarrassed steps back, and said in a stuffy voice, "Hey, Mrs. Wilton wants the English rep from your class to go to her office." Okay, got it. I turned and called for the class rep, and when I turned back, she was still there. Her eyes were curved into crescents, clear and bright. "Sorry about that," she said. "It's fine." She gave me another polite smile and then turned and left. I stood there, just watching her back disappear around the corner. "Tim, you dog, staring at your dream girl again?" Jack slung his arm over my shoulder with a grin. "I'm telling you, just go confess. She'll definitely say yes. Get lost." I knocked his hand away and headed for the court. Confessing. Of course, I had done that. But she turned me down. And she did it without a moment's hesitation. That was before she got sick and lost her memory. I had secretly placed a love letter on her desk. But I waited all day, and no reply ever came. Unable to stand it anymore, I wandered over to her classroom. And I saw Nina, holding a stack of love letters, throwing them into the trash can by the back door. I lowered my eyes and turned and walked away. My first youthful, impulsive act was so heartlessly rejected. It was humiliating, pathetic. My pride wouldn't let me bow my head again. But some people are like a benign tumor, growing inside you. Not fatal, but always on your mind. When I heard she was sick, I panicked. I immediately asked our teacher which hospital she was in and rushed over that same night. Nina had forgotten many people and things, including me. I stood outside her hospital room, watching her through the glass. I even compiled a special set of math notes and asked our teacher to give them to her. Later, we ended up at the same university. I was in the math department, she was in literature. Even when she saw me at club meetings and just gave me a polite, unfamiliar smile, my heart still fluttered. The mathematician Bertrand Russell once said that Euclidean geometry is as beautiful as a first love. Nina is my Euclidean geometry. She was my completely unexpected, dizzying first love. Until that rainy day, when I heard a creep was in the area. I was secretly following her, trying to protect her on her way to her tutoring job. Then it started to rain. Just as I was trying to think of an excuse to offer her a ride back to school, she suddenly burst into my car. Impulsive and sweet. Just like in high school. I thought to myself. I should be impulsive one more time.